Breaking news: Ukraine war, see why Russia's retreat reveals military weakness. Russia's retreat from Kharkiv, northeastern Ukraine, has exposed key weaknesses in the supplies and staffing of the nation's armed forces, Russian veterans and military bloggers say. You have no idea how tired I am to say hello to someone in the morning and then have to identify his remains later the same day, one Russian officer serving as a Marine in Ukraine reportedly confided over the phone to a former colleague back home, who published it on his Telegram channel. Just yesterday 2 of my sniper groups were destroyed by a tank. 3 men died instantly, the fourth one fought for his life for an hour and a half, another one in critical condition was taken to hospital. We have hardly any men left and we are holding a front line dozens of kilometers long. While Russian officials and state media are trying to play down the Russian forces' retreat from Kharkiv, individual war reporters, veterans and influential military bloggers are acknowledging numerous challenges within closed messaging channels. Breaking news: Ukraine war, see why Russia's retreat reveals military weakness. Blogs and Telegram channels are littered with stories of inadequate equipment and personnel, compounded by a rigid operational hierarchy. One Telegram channel, sharing experiences of soldiers in the field in Ukraine shortly after the latest retreat, describes how even deploying a small surveillance drone needs to be approved by a senior officer or a general, considerably slowing down understanding of enemy positions. Another channel on Telegram, reportedly run by a Russian Special Forces veteran, has posted a photo of a Russian soldier sporting an arm patch embroidered with the words, "There is no opponent worse than your own commander who is a." Using an expletive to describe him. There is no way of knowing where and when the image was shot, but what is significant is that it has been widely shared by both veterans and forces in the field, suggesting it reflects popular opinion among the country's rank and file. Despite rumors of low morale, Russian war reporters and paramilitary soldiers serving in Ukraine are not suggesting that widespread desertion in the field contributed to the latest rout in eastern Ukraine. They say it is much more likely that units simply obeyed an order to retreat. Some Russian fighters on another channel joke bitterly that the special military operation, as the Russian government publicly terms it, has no goals, it only has a path. Breaking news: Ukraine war, see why Russia's retreat reveals military weakness. There are not only concerns about poor leadership. Basic equipment appears to be in such short supply that it is having to be crowdfunded. Dozens of public social media groups are collecting money for a whole range of kit, everything from drones to socks and underwear. One of them, called the People's Front, says it has raised about 1.5 billion rubles, £15 million, $17 million, over the past 3 months, and has already spent it on uniforms, helmets and flak jackets, as well as first aid kits, binoculars and thermal imagers. Despite such fundraising, hundreds of pleas have been posted online from dozens of military units, including pilots of Russia's most modern fighter jets, for specific items, such as fireproof uniforms, torches and two-way radios. But the issue is not just a lack of equipment, it is a lack of troops. While there are no signs of imminent compulsory conscription, there has been a push for recruitment, described by the government as an informal mobilization, since soon after the country's invasion of Ukraine. The Russian Ministry of Defense started posting adverts on popular job websites in early March, something which was rarely done before the war. On one website there are more than 7,000 military vacancies listed, for gunners, mortar crew and other combat-focused roles. None of the adverts mention the special military operation in Ukraine. Recruitment flyers have also been posted through doors, and displayed on public transport and outside residential apartment blocks and even psychiatric hospitals. Drafting centers have also resorted to phoning soldiers who have left or retired to ask them to rejoin, some of those contacted told the BBC. One soldier who fought in Chechnya in the 1990s says he and his friends were called 3 or 4 times. The man, who asked to remain anonymous, says he finally agreed but later refused to sign the contract, put off by what appeared to be poor conditions. Possibly to make the proposition of serving more attractive, the minimum contract length has been slashed from 3 years to 3 months, and the upper age limit for a first contract raised from 40 to 60 years old. Russia is believed to be sending several of these scratch units to Ukraine every 10 days, following training of just a week or less. 2 separate sources on the front line told the BBC that such units, comprised of short-term military contractors and fighters from the Wagner mercenary group, the head of which has been filmed recruiting in a central Russian prison, constitute the bulk of Russia's current frontline force. Breaking news: Ukraine war, see why Russia's retreat reveals military weakness. There are reports that those signing contracts may not all be doing so willingly. Russian human rights activists allege there have been cases of men in Chechnya being pressured into joining up by the authorities. Russian independent journalists have reported that up to 500 convicts have also been enlisted. One prisoner, Konstantin Tulinov, was lauded in state media after he was killed during combat in July. Tulinov had served multiple sentences, the latest one for torturing inmates in Russian prisons. Whilst these challenges are being discussed within closed groups, there has been no official acknowledgement of the retreat. On his private Telegram channel, influential state war reporter Yevgeny Podubny suggested that the latest rout exposed long-running issues. The situation is really hard for our troops. The problems which have been discussed both in the public space and during confidential meetings have become obvious. But there is no evidence that this message is making its way to the top. Podubny and several other war reporters were seen speaking briefly with President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg Economic Forum in June. While it is not clear exactly what they managed to explain to the president, lack of supplies remains a key issue for the Russian military.